How to flip. Most people will spend 40 years working and retire with almost nothing. Not because they lack talent, not because they made bad investments or picked the wrong career. Because their own brain is actively sabotaging every financial decision they make, and they do not even know it is happening. Your brain has two operating modes when it comes to money: a scarcity mode that keeps you broke, and a wealth mode that builds empires. The difference between the rich and the stuck is not intelligence, luck, or connections. It is which mode is running inside your skull right now. And for most people listening, that switch is turned off. Your brain has a wealth switch. It determines whether you hoard, panic, and play small, or invest, build, and think in decades. Right now, you are operating on a financial autopilot designed for survival, not success. Every paycheck, every spending decision, every missed opportunity, all filtered through a brain stuck in the wrong mode. 3 specific locks keep that switch jammed in the off position. And today, you are going to learn exactly how to break each one and flip it permanently. Think about what happens inside your body every time money is involved. A bill arrives and your heart rate spikes. An investment opportunity appears and your stomach tightens. Someone asks you to take a financial risk and every alarm in your head fires simultaneously. That is not a mindset problem. That is a wiring problem. Your brain evolved to survive on the savannah, not to build wealth in 2026. And it treats every financial decision with the same intensity it once reserved for predators. Your brain processes losing $50 with roughly twice the intensity it processes gaining 100, meaning you are wired to feel losses far more powerfully than gains of the same size. So every time you consider investing, launching something, or putting money into an opportunity that could grow, your brain screams danger. Not because the opportunity is bad, because the ancient wiring cannot distinguish between a calculated risk and a genuine threat to your survival. It treats both identically. Maximum alarm, maximum resistance. Marcus is 47 years old, earns $120,000 a year as an operations director, has earned over $3 million across his career. Current net worth, barely $60,000. Not because he spends recklessly, because every time his savings crossed a certain threshold, something pulled him back. A car purchase he could not fully explain. A vacation that went over budget by thousands. A home renovation that escalated from necessary repair to complete remodel. Every time. Like clockwork. Marcus thought he had a spending problem. He did not. He had a switch problem. 3 specific locks were keeping his wealth switch jammed off. And those same 3 locks are almost certainly keeping yours off too. And if you are serious about understanding the complete system behind what I am about to walk you through, the VYBO Wealth Blueprint breaks down the full architecture for building wealth psychology from the ground up. Link in the description. That is the operating manual. Lock number 1. Scarcity tunnel vision. When you feel financially squeezed, your brain reorganizes how it processes information. The part responsible for evaluating what is right in front of you becomes hyperactive. Meanwhile, the part responsible for long-term planning and strategic thinking goes quiet. Scarcity literally makes you brilliant at surviving this month and blind to building this decade. Marcus described it perfectly. When bills are stacking up, he could negotiate a $10 discount on anything. Could find the cheapest gas station within 20 miles. Could stretch a grocery budget further than seemed possible. But he could not think about where he wanted to be in 5 years. The long-term planning center of his brain had gone dark. All resources were allocated to immediate survival. He could tell you the price of every item in his grocery cart to the penny. But ask him about his 5-year financial plan and his mind went completely blank. Not because he lacked intelligence, because scarcity had reallocated every cognitive resource to the immediate threat. There was nothing left for strategy. And the most dangerous part of scarcity tunnel vision is what happens during the transition between abundance and scarcity. You just got paid. Account looks healthy. Then bills hit, subscriptions pull, and the balance drops fast. That contrast between having and losing amplifies the scarcity response dramatically. Your wealth switch does not just stay off. It gets jammed harder into the off position every single pay cycle. The cycle of abundance followed by squeeze followed by panic becomes the permanent operating rhythm your brain expects. Lock number 2, identity level programming. You do not just think about money. You have a money identity, and that identity was programmed before you were old enough to question any of it. If you grew up hearing money does not grow on trees, or we cannot afford that, or rich people are greedy, those were not just words. They were code written directly into your operating system. Your brain treats your financial identity the same way it treats your name, as a fixed truth about who you are, not a belief, a fact. Elena is 39, grew up in a household where her parents argued about money almost every night. The emotional charge around finances was so intense that by age 12, she had unconsciously decided that money causes pain. Not that managing it poorly causes pain. That money itself was the source of conflict, anxiety, and suffering. At 35, Elena's consulting business hit $200,000 in revenue for the first time. Within 8 months, she had spent her way back down to almost nothing. Not on luxury, on over-investing in her business without clear returns, on hiring before she needed to, on saying yes to expenses that made no strategic sense. When she looked at the pattern honestly, she realized her brain was getting rid of the money as fast as possible because her operating system had classified wealth as danger. That is identity-level programming. Even when you earn more, your brain finds creative ways to return you to your programmed financial baseline. You get a raise and your spending magically increases to match. You hit a savings goal and suddenly an unexpected expense materializes. Not bad luck, homeostasis. Your brain maintaining alignment with who it believes you are financially. You cannot outperform your self-image. Not for long. Lock number 3. The comfort addiction. Your brain is addicted to certainty. Wealth building is inherently uncertain. Starting a business has no guaranteed outcome. Investing means accepting volatility. Negotiating a higher salary, risk rejection. Your brain interprets every uncertain scenario as danger and steers you back toward whatever is predictable. And the mechanism is chemical. Your brain rewards certainty with a dopamine hit that feels like safety, and it punishes uncertainty with a cortisol spike that feels like genuine danger. You are literally getting a chemical reward for staying exactly where you are and a chemical punishment every time you try to build something new. That is not a fair fight. But once you see that the game is rigged, you can start playing it differently. Now we have seen how all 3 locks operate. Scarcity rewires your brain away from long-term thinking. Identity pulls you back to your baseline. And comfort chemically punishes every attempt to grow. That is the full architecture of the problem. Everything from this point forward is the solution. Marcus described this perfectly. Every time he considered investing a significant amount, his body physically resisted. Chest tightened, hands got cold, brain flooded with worst-case scenarios. Not because the investment was bad, because his nervous system was punishing him for approaching uncertainty. Meanwhile, spending money on something predictable and comfortable, a new gadget, a familiar restaurant, an upgrade he did not need, felt like relief, felt like safety. His brain was chemically rewarding the exact behavior that kept him broke. Picture two versions of yourself 5 years from now. One stays in the job, keeps the predictable paycheck, avoids every uncomfortable move, safe, comfortable, stuck at the exact same income and net worth. The other takes calculated risks, invests when it feels uncomfortable, negotiates when it feels awkward, builds when there are no guarantees, uncomfortable, uncertain, but compounding exponentially. The only difference between those two futures is which neural pathway wins the war inside your head. And if you want to install the complete system for winning that war with daily accountability and a community of people flipping the same switch, the 1% by VYBO on School is the operating room. Link in the description. That is where operators install new wiring, not spectators. Those are the 3 locks. Now the question is how to break them, because the same brain that locked these patterns in can rewire them completely. Step 1. Interrupt the alarm system. Every time you face a financial decision and feel that gut-level resistance, the tightness, the fear, the voice saying, "Do not risk it," pause. Not to push through the fear, to reframe it. Ask yourself one question. Is this actual danger, or is this my brain protecting me from a threat that does not exist anymore? That single question shifts brain activity from panic to evaluation. You are manually redirecting resources from the alarm system to the planning system. Do this every time you feel financial resistance for 90 days, and you build a new default response. Marcus told me that this single practice changed more about his financial behavior than anything else he had tried in 20 years. Not because the fear disappeared, because he learned to recognize it as outdated software rather than accurate intelligence. The practice is simple, but the execution requires discipline. Every financial decision that triggers fear gets the same question: real danger or old wiring? An investment opportunity that makes your stomach tighten. Real danger or old wiring? A negotiation that makes you want to back down. Real danger or old wiring? A business expense that could accelerate growth but feels risky. Real danger or old wiring? Over time, that question becomes automatic. And automatic is the goal. You are replacing a default fear response with a default evaluation response. Step 2. Reprogram financial identity. This is where most people fail because they try to change behavior without changing identity. They say, "I am going to save more money," while their internal programming still says, "I am someone who struggles with money." The behavior never survives because identity always wins. Instead of surface-level changes, attack the root. Every morning, before you check your phone, declare your new financial identity out loud. Not affirmations about wanting money. Identity statements about who you are. I build wealth systematically. I make financial decisions from strategy, not fear. I create value, and money follows. Elena started this practice after recognizing her childhood programming. Every morning for 6 months. Same declarations, same conviction. Told me the first 3 weeks felt absurd, like lying to herself. By month 2, her decisions started shifting without conscious effort. She stopped approving expenses her old identity used to chase, started holding revenue instead of dispersing it. By month 6, her business had its first profitable quarter in 3 years. Same business, same market, different operating system running underneath every decision. Your brain does not distinguish well between vivid, repeated internal statements and external reality. Feed it a new identity consistently, and it begins adjusting your decisions, attention, and behavior to match. The neural pathways supporting your new identity strengthen. The old scarcity pathways weaken from disuse. That is not wishful thinking. That is how the brain physically rewires itself through repetition. Step 3. Engineer discomfort deliberately. Your brain is addicted to certainty. The only way to break an addiction is controlled exposure. Start making one uncomfortable financial move per week. Not reckless moves, strategic discomfort. Week 1, research one investment vehicle you have been avoiding. Week 2, have the salary conversation you have been postponing. Week 3, allocate 10% of your income to an automated investment before you can talk yourself out of it. Week 4, say no to one comfort purchase and redirect that money into an asset. Repeat that 4-week cycle. Each month, the discomfort threshold rises. What felt terrifying in month 1 feels routine by month 3. What felt routine in month 3 becomes your new baseline by month 6. The comfort zone does not just expand, it relocates permanently. Each uncomfortable action sends a signal to your brain. This did not kill me. I survived the uncertainty. Over time, your comfort zone expands. What once triggered maximum resistance becomes routine. That is your wealth switch moving from off to on. Not in one dramatic moment, through accumulated evidence that your brain can handle the uncertainty that wealth requires. Marcus told me that the salary conversation in week 2 was the hardest thing he had done in years. His brain generated every possible reason to postpone it. He did it anyway. Got a 14% raise. His brain filed that evidence immediately. Uncertainty led to gain, not loss. The next uncomfortable move was measurably easier, and the next one easier still. Each successful move rewired the default response. Most people wait for motivation to take action. That is backwards. Action creates neural evidence. Evidence builds confidence. Confidence makes the next action easier. You are not waiting to feel ready. You are training your brain to be ready by showing it proof one uncomfortable move at a time. Your brain has a wealth switch locked off by 3 mechanisms. Scarcity tunnel vision that kills long-term thinking. Identity programming that drags you back to your baseline. Comfort addiction that punishes growth. Break the locks with 3 steps. Interrupt the alarm. Reprogram identity. Engineer discomfort. Execute daily. Let the evidence compound. Your move. Make it count. The wealth switch is step 1. But your brain will slam it back off within weeks if the daily architecture underneath it is not built correctly. Watch this video next to install the 7 invisible systems that keep the switch locked on permanently.